TV7 Israel News is made possible thanks to your generous donation. Shalom ve'erev tov, good evening. This is TV7 Israel News daily broadcast from Jerusalem. Holocaust survivors urge never to forget the atrocities committed against the Jewish people during World War II. Prime Minister Netanyahu rejects Turkish and Qatari involvement in the Gaza Strip. And U.S. President Donald Trump warns Iran with yet another Armada heading to confront the Islamic Republic unless it accepts defeat. The United Nations General Assembly marked International Holocaust Memorial Day, commemorating the 81st anniversary of the liberation of the Auschwitz concentration camp. Addressing the world body's plenum, Holocaust survivors stressed the crucial imperative to remember and pleaded for world peace during these tumultuous times.
This is the very yellow star that I was forced to wear. It was just another way to denigrate us, to isolate us, and to set us apart from the rest of society. Each and every one of us must do everything in our power to prevent such hatred, such destruction, and such terror from reoccurring. And we can begin by having love, respect, and compassion towards one another, regardless of the religious belief, color of skin, or national origin.
They do not have any graves. They live in our memory. They were thrown into pits that they had to dig themselves, but they are in our memory. Their bodies were shoved into crematoria to be annihilated by fire, to be destroyed, to be erased, but they live in our memory. And we pass along to our children and our children's children the human duty to remember the 6 million.
I have come here today with hand extended in a plea for peace in our world, so that the heart may have an open space to spread love. Let us be united. Let us love one another. May we have a good and meaningful life in this world. And may we live a life of joy and goodness for the younger generation, the generation what will one day take our place.
Also addressing the plenum, U.S. Ambassador Mike Waltz stressed that the barbarism of October 7th of 2023 reminds us how quickly hatred can erupt into mass murder, while Israeli Ambassador Dani Danon warned that remembering the atrocities committed by the Nazis during the Holocaust is simply not enough.
The Holocaust is not distant history. It is a dire, living warning against efforts to revive this existential threat to humanity. The barbarism of October 7th reminds us how quickly hatred can erupt into mass murder. The future hangs on our choices we make right here today. And on this solemn day, please let us honor the victims through decisive action.
Today, remembrance alone is not enough, because while we remember, Jews are attacked. While we speak, hatred spreads. Words, slogans, and statements have failed to stop the violence. I stand before you as Israel's ambassador to sound the alarm. The time for talk is over. The time for action is now.
Meanwhile, in Jerusalem, Prime Minister Netanyahu made a televised address to the people of Israel, during the course of which he re-emphasized Jerusalem's unyielding determination to achieve all of the objectives of the war that was imposed on Israel when the Islamist Hamas and its affiliated Palestinian terror groups launched their unprovoked attack on October 7th of 2023, murdering roughly 1,200 mostly civilians, wounding over 4,800 others, and kidnapping over 250 people.
על שלושה דברים עומד הניצחון המוחלט. על השבת כל חטופי...
Absolute victory rests on three things: the return of all our hostages, the dismantling of Hamas's weapons, and the demilitarization of Gaza. Only in this way will we ensure that Gaza no longer poses a threat to the state of Israel. Yesterday, we fully completed the sacred mission of returning all of our hostages. Now I have heard, not one or two people, saying with endless emotion, "It's unbelievable that we brought Rang Vili home." It is indeed believable. I believed we would return them all. I believed it even when, at the start of the war, a very senior official in the security establishment said, "We must get used to the fact that we might not see even one hostage returned to Israel." I believed it even when they told me, "Prime Minister, you must stop the war. You must leave Gaza. Yes, you must comply with Hamas's demands, because otherwise, we simply won't see the hostages here." But I believed otherwise. I believed that through the combination of military and diplomatic pressure, we could and would bring all of our hostages back home. Because what is important in war, more than anything else, is to ignore the background noise, to stand with composure against pressures from home and abroad, to understand what needs to be done, and to strive with all our might to do it, to achieve the goal.
Now that the remains of the last hostage, Rang Vili, were returned to Israel, and today laid to rest in a cemetery at his hometown of Meital, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu asserted that now is the time to fulfill Israel's two other war objectives, which are both included in President Donald Trump's Phase 2 of his 20-point plan that was subsequently ratified as UN Security Council Resolution 2803.
Now we are focusing on completing the two remaining missions, the disarming of Hamas and the demilitarization of Gaza from weapons and tunnels. As I agreed with President Trump, you have heard this many times, both from him and from me, there are only two options. It will be done either the easy way or the hard way. But in any case, it will happen.
Amid a whirlwind of reports claiming a long list of endeavors that will be advanced vis-à-vis the Gaza Strip, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu emphasized that there will be no progress in Gaza's rehabilitation until the Islamist Hamas is disarmed and the Gaza Strip is demilitarized. Moreover, and regardless of claims to the contrary, the Israeli leader also emphasized that Qatari and Turkish military troops will not enter the Gaza Strip.
I hear even now the statements that we will allow the reconstruction of Gaza before demilitarization. That will not happen. I hear that we will bring Turkish soldiers and Qatari soldiers into Gaza. That will also not happen. I hear that I will allow the establishment of a Palestinian state in Gaza. That has not happened, and it will not happen. I think everyone knows that the one who stopped the establishment of a Palestinian state is me, together with my colleagues in the governments I have headed. Today and tomorrow, we will not allow it. Israel will maintain security control over the entire area, from the Jordan to the sea, and that is also true regarding the Gaza Strip.
Prime Minister Netanyahu went on to address the heightened tensions with the Islamic Republic of Iran as the Ayatollah regime continues to commit mass murder against Iranian civilians.
I wish to say to you, citizens of Israel, in the War of Redemption, we have achieved great achievements together. We severely struck Iran. We severely struck Iran's terrorist proxies. Now, it is true, the Iranian axis is trying to recover, but we will not allow it to do so. If Iran makes the grave mistake and attacks Israel, we will respond with a force that Iran has yet to see.
It is important to highlight that U.S. President Donald Trump, during a rally in Iowa yesterday, announced that another Armada was floating towards the Islamic Republic of Iran and voiced hope that the Ayatollah regime would accept defeat before the United States releases its undisputable superior might upon the terror regime in Tehran.
And in June, we obliterated Iran's nuclear capacity in Operation Midnight Hammer. You saw that. People have been waiting for 22 years to do that, and we were right at the end. They were about a month away from having a nuclear weapon. We had to do it. And by the way, there's another beautiful Armada floating beautifully toward Iran right now. So we'll see. I hope they make a deal. I hope they make a deal. They should have made a deal the first time.
Despite President Trump's repeated warnings, the Islamic Republic is under the impression that it could still dictate terms with the administration in Washington.
Our position is clear. Negotiations cannot take place under threats, and any talks must be conducted in conditions where threats and excessive demands are set aside. A military threat would lead to instability across the entire region, especially given the nature of the U.S. presence there. This is, in my view, a shared understanding in the region. The region is firmly opposed to military threats, and there is a broad consensus that instability would result in major challenges for the region. Therefore, regional countries oppose this issue.
Thank you for watching TV7 Israel News. I would like to encourage you to keep the Iranian people in your prayers and pray also for the peace of Jerusalem and redemption of Israel. Jonathan Essen wishing you an Erev Mevorach, and God willing, until our next broadcast, Shalom from Jerusalem.